watching the Jennylyn show, and I'm Jennylyn Gleave, your host. And tonight, my guest is another fascinating person who has come on the set to discuss another fascinating subject with us. Her name is Saumyaa Vardhan, and she is an astrologer and a numerologist. And she left her job in finance to pursue a career in this field. And I can't wait for her to tell us why. Thank you so much, Saumyaa, for coming on my show.
Thank you so much, Jennylyn, for inviting me. I really appreciate that.
Oh, sure. I'm excited. I'm someone who's kind of been in and out of reading different horoscopes and stuff like that, so I'm excited to learn the science behind it. So you begin where you feel comfortable.
Okay, great. I think where I would like to start with is giving a little bit of background about myself.
Sure.
And so people can understand where I'm coming from and why, understanding the science behind it.
Right.
I think just as a person, I grew up in a very mathematical based family where my parents have always asked me to pay attention to numbers, to logic, to analysis and mathematics in terms of my education background. Because of that, I went and did my undergraduate degree in statistics honors from India's topmost college for women, Lady Shram College in New Delhi. Then I did my MSc in Operation Research, which is understanding the mathematical side of numbers in business. And later I went and did my MBA from Imperial College in Finance and Strategy. I worked for over 7 years as a strategy consultant, a lot in the M&A and buy-side, sell-side transactions as well with both top accountancy companies like KPMG and EY in London. And that's where I started to, see that, why, how math and science and logic is there as part of like our daily lives. And I became very intrigued to find out what are these numbers, what is the science and logic behind astrology, numerology, and a lot of other Vedic knowledge and practices. And that's where I started my venture, shubhpuja.com, which is India's first venture where we are looking at combining technology with the ancient spiritual wisdom to give it to more younger and modern generation and people who are looking at more scientific explanations into these practices as well. And over a period of time, to understand this industry myself, I had to enroll myself in astrology, numerology, and Vastu courses, which is similar to feng shui science in China. And that's where I started to combine, my practical knowledge of numbers, what I've been doing in financial models, etc., and creating similar software models for astrology, numerology, and other practices. And you asked me about science behind numbers and these practices.
Yes. From working in finance, you realize that there's a correlation between your date of birth and the year of your birth and the time of your birth and what transitions throughout your life. Is that how you started with it?
Well, I think it was just that at one point of time, I wanted to go to a lot of numerologists and people in astrology and
so you consulted with them?
Yeah, and then, I was also intrigued about, I wanted to know the science behind it. I wanted to know the logic, and it so happened that people were not able to give the kind of explanation I was looking for, because obviously, I was in a heavy math industry and I wanted to do that, so I understand it. And what I realized, learned, and this is my way of learning that how it's scientific, the first thing which, before we even go into that, is to understand what is science. Science is research, which means researching something that already existed.
Right.
An existing phenomena. And obviously proving it in a very mathematical and systematic way and quantifying things as well.
Right.
And the way I would like to explain, and this is how I learned, that how, say, astrology or how planets and all these cosmic energies affect us is to, explain a very simple and a very normal phenomena which most of us go through every day and we see it, is the phenomena of tides, high tides and low tides. We hear about that. We know that this is a phenomena which happens every 24 hours. And why does that happen?
Right. And people always say it's a full moon, watch out, people are going to be weird. Or can you explain that?
I will explain that for you, and this is exactly where I was trying to come to the point that how moon is a celestial body. The tide happens because moon is close to earth. Moon is a celestial body. Due to the gravitational pull of moon, there is movement of water on earth, and earth is composed of almost 2/3 of water, which is 70% of earth is water. So imagine a gravitational pull of a small planet like moon, not even a planet, but like a celestial body, but in astrology we consider that as a planet, can affect 70% of a much bigger structure, which is earth. Then how does it affect our body? We are composed in similar proportion as that of earth. If you see, human body is same. 2/3 of our body is water, 1/3 of our body is mass, similar to earth. 2/3 of earth is water, and 1/3 is the land which is out there. So that's how moon and the sun and all these other planets in our solar system are affecting us on a day-to-day basis, and that's why sun is so powerful.
So it does affect people.
Yeah, you would see that, where when your moon
even
is
the animals, right?
Even the animals, even the nature, and I think in a better way I can explain that, for numbers as well. For numerology, for example, it is very interesting and something which I discovered, which is trying to combine science and mathematics. So as we all know that universe is it's actually a systematic collection of things.
Right.
By that I mean that things that happen in the universe happen in a particular pattern, and numerology is exactly the basis of that. In numerology, we assume that everything happens, the numbers are in a pattern, and they have their own energy and powers as well. So, for example, having said that, and you asked me about the moon and other celestial phenomena, so we know that universe is sort of chaotic, but it's collective at the same time. So day is preceded by night, and night again gives rise to the day. So there's a phenomena which is going on simultaneously, right? It's not that suddenly for a period of 1 month we only get days and there are no nights.
Right.
Right.
Although there's some areas in the world where they don't experience darkness, but they still have.
Yeah, you may have extended daylight depending on the distance between the sun and the elliptical path that Earth revolves. Sun revolves around Earth. But another example can be, say, look at trees, right? Like for example, apple tree. Now, when an apple tree has to give out fruits, it gives out apples, right? It is systematic. It suddenly doesn't give you figs or oranges, or bananas for that matter, right? If I sow, an apple tree, then I want to get apples out of it, and universe gives me apple, right? So there is a pattern. There is a systematic pattern, and this is how numerology connects and defines things in the same pattern. That is the basis of it, and it is interesting what I found out that. We all know of a famous Greek mathematician, Pythagoras. Right. It was really interesting for me to learn that a great mathematician, he traveled all around the world, particularly in Egyptian cultures and Indian cultures, to learn about numerology, and he's now known as the father of numerology. So it is very interesting to know that, for his day-to-day calculations and for anything analytical, a great mathematician, Pythagoras, he used Pythagorean theorem, which we all know in mathematics. But on the other hand, to understand people and to understand the phenomena of other activities, about numbers and about connecting things in the universe, these phenomena, he used the, Pythagorean numerology. That is what his basis was, to understand people. And I can give you a very simple example for that. And this will explain you how for analytical things, which is mathematics, and how for everyday phenomena, how we can see patterns in numbers.
Okay.
Let's take number 9, and number 9 is known as a Purna Sankhya in Vedic, mathematics system, which is like it's a complete number. 9 is known as the most humanitarian number, and 9 is the most unique number in such a way that if you multiply 9 with any number in the world, and you add those digits of the number, it will give you 9. 9 into 5 is 45. 4 plus 5, 9. 9 into 9, 81. 8 plus 1 is 9 again. You see the mathematical combination of 9, the properties.
Yes.
But now if you want to see the number 9 in the universe, you will see that there are 9 planets. To give rise to a life, to give rise birth
9
to,
months.
it takes 9 months. In a circle, the number of angles that you have, the degrees, 360 degrees, 3 plus 6 plus 0, again 9. That's the significance of it. And in Vedic culture, the number 108, 108, is again taken as, you know, a number of in its own wholeness. It's given special importance and, you know, more in terms of mathematical principles. So it is a very interesting phenomena to see that if you multiply the diameter of Sun with 108, you will get the distance between Sun and Earth. You multiply the diameter of Moon with 108 again, which is again number 9, form of number 9, you will get the distance between, you know, Moon and Earth.
That's
it is
brilliant.
so unique. And I do want to mention one more very interesting phenomena, which I did before coming to your show, by the way. That is, I calculated your numbers, Jennylyn and Gleave, as the number for numerology, and I wanted to,
tell me, is it good?
I was really interested in finding out
Yes.
because you know, I was very intrigued with, you know, the kind of work you're doing, and you will not believe it turned out to be number 9.
Me? I'm a 9er?
Yes.
Wow.
9 is the most humanitarian number.
Are you serious?
Yes, it is the, you know, it is one of the ultimate numbers, because if you think about it, you know, the way, you know, you are the classic example of number 9. If you think about it, you're doing the show, you are trying to, you know, make people, you know, see what are the other innovations, the top people in the industry from, you know, I've seen your other shows with, you know, top personalities in Silicon Valley and around the world. You make so much of an effort for people to know about these sciences, for people to learn, and that's a very humanitarian thing that you're doing. And
yes, I also have the same birthday as Mahatma Gandhi. I have to say that.
Now you're combining, look how you're trying to combine
Yes.
the numbers with understanding yourself.
Yes.
And that is where you see that how I feel numbers and these sciences give us a great understanding of knowing about our strengths and weaknesses. For me, that was the best part, to understand that everybody is unique and it's best to play on their strengths.
That is fascinating. So pretty much you are just a product of the day you were born, the year you were born, and the time you were born.
Absolutely.
And you don't have a lot more control because it's pretty much predestined.
Well,
is that correct?
Well, yes, partly, but at the same time, you know, we have, so there are two concepts. One is obviously there's destiny. At the same time, 50% is destiny and God gives you 50% free will. And that is where they tell you that the karma that you do can improve things in destiny, and you know, and Hindu religion and, you know, other practices as well believe in reincarnation. So
yes.
It's almost like your PNL as well. So every birth we take, there's a particular PNL with which, you know, depending on the karma that you did and, you know, what you are supposed to. So it's almost like a theater show, if you see that, you know, the acts that you need to play, but you do have the freedom to do other things as well. So that is where the better work you do, the better karma you do, the more humanitarian things that you do, you improve that in your future life cycles as well.
I am fascinated. So you're telling me that when you're born,
yeah,
you were born a certain year, a certain date, and a certain time. That, in some ways, play a part in the person that you are, but then you have free will, and you can choose the other part.
Yes,
and so even though you may be born with numbers that you may not be the luckiest person, they may not be the luckiest numbers, you have the freedom to choose the other half and turn it around.
Absolutely.
Is that always true?
Yeah, see, you can't change destiny, but you know, you can just manage it better.
Because
right?
apparently I was born on a crappy day at a crappy time in a crappy year.
There's nothing crappy. Look where you are right now, inspiring millions of us around the world, sharing the same birthday as, you know, great Mahatma Gandhi ji, and, you know, I think there's nothing crappy, you know, in terms of numbers, date, and time. Everyone's born with their own destiny, and, you know.
So let me ask you this. You have been studying lots of people's numbers.
Yes.
How true is this? I mean, you already seen the logical side of it.
Yes.
But how much have you been able to learn from reading people's numbers. You just see this science is just so on the dot, and people need to become more informed.
Yes, and I think it's always, you know, it's almost like knowing what you're good at, right? And that's where you get the guidance. So, for example, you know, I would love to share the example of, I've looked at Steve Jobs' horoscope, and I would love to share example.
Yeah, let's talk about him. He's dead. Go for it.
No, but then that gives a good insight about, you know, what his energies are. And from what I learned is that Steve Jobs, his ascendant is Leo, and this is through astrology, which is again based on the date of birth, time, birth, and place of birth, you know, place of the birth that you have.
Right.
And depending on that, whatever the ascendant was rising, you know, that defines your ascendant and that defines your personality, and other stars, wherever they're placed in those charts, based on the calculation that you do. And these are very detailed calculations. So you will see Steve Jobs, you know, if you see his horoscope, it's Leo ascendant rising, which represents sun. So the prime characteristics of Steve Jobs was about leadership, about, you know, salesmanship, about technical products, about marketing those technical products. He wasn't about, you know, somebody who would code or sit and like create those products, but his basic or his strong points were to communicate to the world about the best products which are there, the technologically advanced products. So his third house, which is house of communication, has Saturn posited in it, and Saturn represents, you know, anything with, you know, metals, manufacturing, technical products. So it was about communicating to the world about technological products,
which
and
he did
so well.
And did it well. So let me ask you this. How were you able to come up with this? Because I know it's easy to find out the day he was born and the year he was born. Can you do this without the time someone is born, or are they all critical to an accurate reading of someone?
So, okay, so in terms of knowing exact, precise details, and that too like over a period of time, it is absolutely important to have your time of birth, because, you know, the way you look at it is the longitude and latitude where you're born. With every 4 minutes difference, the horoscope changes, because there's a difference of latitude in that. Like, you know, you move on the earth as well. With 1 degree, with 4 minutes, 1 degree moves, and that is why it's very important. But, you know, it's interesting to see how these sciences are so mystic. So, you know, the way it looks at is the universe conspires in terms of if you have one question to be answered. So there's a method called Prashna Kundli in Vedic astrology, where at that particular time where, you know, somebody tells the question to an astrologer.
Yeah.
So you see that as the birth of the question, right? The way you would see that, you know, future of a person would be similarly seen as the birth of a question. So then you would create the horoscope for that particular time when you ask the question, and then you are able to get somewhat close answers to what you might get with, you know, an exact horoscope. But there are limitations in this method, because you can only ask one question, because it's so that, you know, because we are looking at the birth of that particular question. And another thing is there that you can't very quickly ask the same question, because then you're somewhere, it's like statistically you are somewhere influencing the astrologer with their way of thinking as well, because he saw some combination at that point, and then again you're asking the same question with a different situation. Then, you know, that's where you're sort of like influencing or, you know, creating some sort of, you know, errors which we see in statistics and, you know, other sciences as well.
So I must tell you, because I know you're from India, that in America, I think mostly because of religious reasons, this science is frowned upon. Are you aware of that? And why do you think there's this stigma attached to this science?
I think, Jennylyn, first thing, and I guess I was part of that myself, because I just didn't know. There was not a good platform for me to learn about it. There was nobody who could understand my language and see and talk to me in terms of numbers, data, etc., the way I would like to hear it. So first problem is that limitation of platform. Second thing is that, you know, if you see these Vedic sciences, and I'll come to the great example for that, they are a-religious. They are not related with religious. Healing doesn't have a religion. And the classic example of this is yoga. Right. Yoga is from the same scriptures. It's from the same, practice from where Vedic astrology, Vedic numerology, the practice of puja, which is about, through sound energy, you're cleansing your aura, removing the negative energies, all that. So yoga is a classic example. Yoga doesn't have a religion, and that is why all these practices, the planets don't have a religion, right? Like they are same for all of us. They affect you, they affect me. The way you see them, I see them as the same thing. When scientists discover some theories, there's no religion attached to those theories. It is applicable for everyone, right? So healing has no religion according to me. It's all about knowing your strengths and weaknesses, finding the solutions, understanding where you are. And another big thing I would want to mention as well, that obviously slowly science is progressing and the research is going on. So it's all about people putting in money to create a platform where people are researching about these things. And unfortunately, these practices do not have like a worldwide platform where everybody from all around the world have one common mission of proving these things without thinking about the money or someone's, investing in it. Just like pharmaceutical companies, right? How do you come up with the drug? There are billions of dollars of funding involved, and so many scientists sitting together, researching, right? Doing the same experiments. Unfortunately, nobody's there to collect that kind of data about people, about numbers, create a big software model, then try and do predictions, apply the regression models, use statistical principles, then come with the theory. Then me and you sit down, if you are another scientist working on it, we sit down together, we discuss that, then we analyze, get more case studies. Unfortunately, there's no platform like that, but the good part is obviously with time and with artificial intelligence and with technology, science is advancing to that state that maybe at some point of time in future we are able to get proper statistical mathematical models where we are able to see how planets are influencing us, with what degree, etc. But unfortunately, right now, it's a very independent sort of practice where people are looking at themselves. People don't really use a lot of technical tools because there's not much access to it as well. And then there isn't a platform where you can talk about it. And that was the reason why I started my venture, shubhpuja.com, where I wanted to talk more about the logical and scientific and mathematical part of it. And thanks to America, I think yoga has been recognized as a worldwide practice where all of us across the world have understood the benefits of this kind of practice, and we all have made it part of our everyday living, and we are all benefiting from it because these are all left to us by our ancient sages. It's for everyone.
So believe it or not, we're down to 5 minutes.
Oh.
Time always flies when you're having fun. So how do you think it would make the world a better place if more people recognize the seriousness of understanding this about themselves, about the science, about when they were born and their sign, and understanding themselves and other people through the science?
I think the way it has personally helped me is, sometimes giving answers to why I may have a similar opinion with another person, or I may differ with somebody else, because I have learned that everybody is unique in this world. Everyone has their own uniqueness. No two thumbprints are same. No two horoscopes are same. Everyone's an individual. They have their strengths. They have their weaknesses. It's good to appreciate people's strengths and work upon them. And instead of like trying to find faults in the other person. And I've started to accept a lot of people in my life where I've started to see that if they behaved in a certain way or if certain thing happened, then I know that it's not that they are doing it on purpose. Obviously, that's just the way they are composed as well. That is how, they are being influenced by the numbers, and, and it's only that, you help them recognize their talents. It's good for people to understand what's their talent. So for example, if I am a good orator, I'm great at public speaking, you don't want to put me in a job where I'm just sitting behind a computer and trying to punch in numbers, right? Because that's not going to be my strength. My strength will be to go out there, give a great presentation, talk to people, instead of like, putting me in behind a closed door and 4 walls. But there are some people who love doing mathematical models. So according to the strengths and weaknesses, put them according to where the strengths are, and that ways I think we all will realize that everyone has something unique to offer. And I would personally love to help anyone who wants to know their strengths and weaknesses, so they can help understand that how best they can take advantage of, you know, similarities and differences with people, with the kind of work they're doing, where are the things that they're lacking, and things like that.
So when I was growing up, they had astrologers who would write a little paragraph or two about people born on this month.
Right.
And I believe, this is just my personal observation, that one of the reasons why people probably don't take this horoscope thing seriously is because I've heard this argument many times myself. How could you write 12 paragraphs for 12 different signs when there's so many people? And like you said, everybody is different. No two people are the same. We're down to 2 minutes, so we're going to have to make this quick. I believe the reasons people don't take this seriously is because most of the astrologers, they will write a general something for the Gemini, a general whatever for the Libra. But there's no way that general caption can apply to the billions of people in the world.
But that's the difference between Western astrology and Vedic. Vedic is for you. It's customized. It is about Jennylyn, Gleave, born on a particular date of birth, time, birth, and place of birth. Whereas the Western astrology will take a generic view, and which applies to a lot of us in basic qualities. But if you want to know exact questions for yourself, your details are required. And even Western astrology gives that, so you have to go consult somebody who will take your details and give you the answers.
Thank you so much. You were brilliant. I hope if you're watching this show, you have learned the difference between what we read in the newspapers and, what do you call it?
The customized horoscope, Vedic astrology.
And the customized astrology. What is your website? Do you want to leave it with my viewers?
Yes, so my website is www.shubhpuja.com. It's shubhpuja.com, which is about mantra healing through Sanskrit, chants, and mantra through educated qualified professionals.
Thank you so much, Saumyaa, for coming on my show. If you've been watching this show and you're as fascinated as I am, there's so much more to learn. She just gave us her website address. Please feel free to write to her, and I'm sure she'd be happy to send you some more information. Thank you to my crew. It's a holiday, and they're here crewing my show. You guys rock. I can't do these shows without you. And thank you to my viewers. I will see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.